My name's Adam Barber. I'm a composer in Los Angeles, and this is my workshop. This is where I'm creative. I work in the production of music for cinema, television, commercials, independent bands, and most of my creativity is right here in the studio. People I've worked for in the past, I've assisted with Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman. I've also worked for Christopher Young. A great collaboration of mine is with Jeff Lorber. I'm constantly working with him and learning from him also. One of my recent wonderful experiences was when I was scoring London Fields a few years ago. I got to work with Oscar winner Christopher Jenkins. He's a dub mixer. He's an amazing person and an amazing film mixer. That's a little bit about me. This is my space. This is where the magic happens. And working for those people and working with those people, I've learned so much about creativity and how to integrate it and be efficient. And over the years, I've learned how to have an efficient creative process and how important workflow can be. And RME is the foundation of my workflow. Without it, I wouldn't be able to creatively accomplish what I want quickly and efficiently. I have a bunch of their converters and devices for routing audio and digital workflow, analog or digital. And I brought that for recording, for stems, for my laybacks, and just in general everyday work. They're just an amazing company. I first heard about the company working for Hans Zimmer. That's when I became familiar with them. And ever since then, watching how he worked and how he incorporated digital technology with his compositional workflow and real instruments and synths, I was like, that's what I want to do. And so ever since that experience, and then working with other people, I'm learning more about digital technology and how it's evolved. I'm just excited to have the ability to buy this equipment and integrate it into my workflow setup. It's just amazing. Some of the stuff I have in my studio is Madiface XT, and that's basically the backbone of my studio, and that really is how I route my audio around the studio. And I also integrate a Dante network and Madi with that. And with those three pieces, I'm able to basically record live, vocalist, instrumentalist. I have an electronics area in my studio, and then I have my main writing rig, which is behind me. And that's where I have Pro Tools, and my main interface is Logic. And I have Pro Tools mainly as a video playback and stemming rig, so I can monitor as picture comes in. I can put the picture up there, and I can conform. I can see how picture has changed, so I'm able to put in multiple pictures into Pro Tools and then sync it up to Logic. And when I hit play in Logic, I'm able to watch what I'm doing in Pro Tools, as well as mix and stem at the same time when I need to for particular scenes. So this is me sitting in my primary position in front of my DAW, Logic Pro, working away. And I have basically two other positions in the studio. I call this position 2, keyboards, synths, some mic pre's over here. And then the position 3 is another live position right here for singers, instrumentalists coming in, and drums. And all this stuff, all the routing, all the analog input output, it goes into over here into this basically my machine rack. So one of the big developments that I've seen from RME has been their embracing of AVB and Dante, and that's neither here nor there. I think they're both great technologies. For me, I've just incorporated their Dante side, which is the Digiface Dante. And how I've incorporated into the Madiface XT is the third Madiface input. I take out and I send it into and return from the Digiface Dante. And that's my Dante network. And what's been great is that allows me to expand this creative space into a larger context, into other rooms around me. So now in here, it's a fairly nice little workshop, creative space, compositional area. But if I wanted to have a quartet or a larger ensemble, it's not really conducive to be in here. In this room, I've recorded a ton of stuff. I have a drum set right here. I'll record drums. I have keyboards. I'll bring in instrumentalists, a single or a double, and I'll maximize this space. But if I want to have a larger ensemble, I need a larger space. And what RME has allowed me to do is basically use this as a control room, and then take something. An example would be their new offering, which looks great. I've just been checking it out. The 12 mic, which is a 12 mic pre-interface. I can just take that and put that in another space, a larger space, and I can sit in here and I can record from that. And what I'll do, how I connect it, is another Digiface Dante. I'll actually, right now, I've been messing with a 12 mic, and it's been really exciting. So I'll set it up, and then I'm going out MADI into the Digiface Dante, and then the Digiface Dante connects to my Ethernet, and then that routes back to here for that day, which would be the control room. And then I can send a headphone mix, and I can send what I'm recording back here. I can bring it into Logic, and at the same time I can be doing a rough mix and stemming or sending it to groups in Pro Tools. And with all those things, that's kind of the main concept of my studio. It's how to make technology not be hindrance, but enhance the creative process and let it work in the background. So once these things are set up, I kind of set them and forget them. And then it allows me to focus more on the instruments that are around me. Oh, I have a keyboard over here. I want to check this out. And it's up. I have some drums over here. I'm going to just lay down a little idea. I'm not a drummer, but I kind of have an idea of what I want to put down. So I'm going to record drums into Logic now. And then once I get into Logic, do a little mixing, put on some effects, do something, and then I'll print that to Pro Tools. And all this just allows me just to really quickly move around the studio in creative zones. And that's the other concept of my creative space, is I have these zones. And again, that's where RME comes into play. Not only do I have the Digiface XT, which is this large channel count interface, but how I run audio around this space, RME has really helped me in that concept too. So over in this area, I have the Ferrofish A32 Dante. So it's a 32 channel, well, it's actually 64 channels, but it has 32 analog. It's got ADAT, it has MADI, then it has Dante. It's this really great, just another Swiss Army knife type of tool that I plug everything into, and then I plug it into my Dante network, and in the Dante software, I just route it back to my Digiface Dante. And so I have all this just always sitting here ready to go. I have a Waldorf Q, a Nord Electro, some other peripherals, a piano, bass, Fender Rhodes, an Oberheim expander, and anything I want to integrate, there's just room over here to patch in. And then it's already routed, or I can route it really quickly in the Dante software. And then that's automatically going into Logic, and I can just get up and go, and I can just leave it patched in like that, and it's really creatively freeing for me to do that. And then I have like another zone over here. This is kind of what I call the live zone. So over here we have like a keyboard zone, and then over here we have a live zone. And typically I'll have a live instrumentalist come over here. So whether it's double bass, or a wind player, or right now I have a drum set. And right now I also have the 12 mic preset up, and I'm checking it out, and I've mic'd this drum set, and basically have it set up here in this live zone. The 12 mic pre in this circumstance is again going into the Digiface Dante, connecting Ethernet into my Dante network, and bang, it comes up on my Digiface XT, and I'm just able to integrate it. Once it's set up in the routing, it's just ready to go, and I can just write creatively at Logic, do what I need to on keyboards if I want to add something, and I can just pop over here on the drums and just hit record, check the input, I'm ready to go. And I also have a headphone mix that I'm sending from Logic that comes up on the Digiface Dante. It has a nice little stereo headphone out, and I'm controlling it actually with a Surface Pro 7. The software, the TotalMix software comes up on it. I have it, the Surface Pro 7 basically plugged in USB into the Digiface Dante, and then you see TotalMix, and that allows me to do all the routing to and from the Dante network. So it's really it's been for me creatively a great way to work. And all this routing and mixing and all these little things, it sounds really complicated. It's not. They're simple ideas. There's great tutorials online that RME has that talks about TotalMix and their interfaces. How I integrate them has been just wonderful. I don't want. There's a lot of great converters on the market. I'm not looking for anything with crazy DSP or anything. I'm literally just looking for input and output and how to route it into Logic so I can be creative. And I don't really want to worry about plugins and stuff on my interfaces or DSP on my interface. RME, the interfaces, some of them actually do have a little DSP. They have some, TotalMix has an EQ, they have reverb, there's a compressor. The Digiface actually has a nice little compressor for live situations, or if you want to tweak something softly on the input. EQ and a couple of other little handy things. Reverb's also nice. One thing I will use the reverb on the Digiface XT for is when I'm recording a vocalist and I want to do a direct out. I'll set up over here in my live area. I'll have a vocalist right here, and I'll use the reverb from TotalMix. It's just nice, convenient, and then I'll do a direct out signal. I'll make it a little wet, and I'll give the vocalist exactly what she needs. And in TotalMix also, I'll give her a nice little headphone mix. And another great component for me working around in TotalMix that I think is kind of vital if you have a larger interface like the 12 mic, which has MADI on it, or any of the MADI interfaces. The ARC USB is a great component to control it. On the ARC USB, I look at it basically as a volume control, but it's basically a USB controller for TotalMix, and it has 12 buttons on it. I think it's 12 buttons for different presets in TotalMix. And I've set up my different presets for quick click checking of different points of my creative process. So my first preset is Logic. I listen to a stereo output from the Digiface XT. It comes up on my mains. And then I have the volume control. It has mono. On the ARC USB, it has dim, and then just a general volume. If I want to set it up for surround, I group the outputs together. It's really simple to do in TotalMix. And then I'm using the volume knob, and it moves all those output faders together. The next preset I use on the ARC USB is for listening to my sends to Pro Tools. So when I'm creating and I want to check what I'm sending to Pro Tools, I just tap a button and the routing configuration changes. So preset 1, I'm listening to Logic. Preset 2, I'm listening to what I'm sending to Pro Tools so I can make sure I'm sending what I'm hearing in Logic. And then I have a third preset which is the returns from Pro Tools. So I have 3 places where I'm checking my input and output in the MADI face and my creative process in Logic Pro. First one is in Logic, checking, listening, being creative. And then when I'm stemming and printing my groups, I go to the second preset, see what I'm sending, make sure I'm hearing what I want to have printed. And then the third is listening back to the return and making sure that it was actually printed. So it'd be like, it'd be an image of what I hear in preset 1, which is Logic. And that's how that sound should be coming out. What I hear in Logic on preset 1 should be the same as preset 3. And the ARC USB basically allows me to go through those routing matrices really quickly and efficiently. And so that's like another great thing by RME that I've integrated into my setup. The ARC USB pulls it all together and really makes it seamless for me with the presets and just being able to have it on my right hand and manipulate it, and then manipulate TotalMix at the same time. I have a mobile rig which incorporates the Babyface Pro, which has MADI on it too and has some mic pre's. I recently went on a trip. I have a backpack and it's great. Laptop in the backpack, couple mics in the backpack, and the Babyface Pro, and it's a powerful little setup. Whether I'm on the road going to a dub stage for a mix and I'm just doing music editing stuff, it's a great little interface, or I'm on the road and I'm working with an artist, which I recently did in Florida, singer-songwriter. That was another great experience. Had my mics, had my Babyface Pro, Pro Tools, Ultimate, the Babyface Pro connected USB, and we were off to the races. And I just set up my mics. He brought some mic stands. I didn't want to carry those with me on the plane. And we had a nice weekend recording session at his place. And it was phenomenal just to be able to have the mobility of a small, concise interface that fits in your backpack. And I put it in the overhead. It was great. So over here we have the 12 mic pre, or RME 12 mic. And when I first saw this, I immediately thought drums, because I've been working with Jeff Lorber a lot, and over at his place we're always doing drums. And we typically have 10 mic positions on the drum kit. And as soon as this came out, I was like, oh, I really want to integrate that into my setup, and I'm going to put that on drums. So I put together a little drum kit here. I've integrated this into my Dante network through the Digiface Dante. And how I'm doing that is basically the mics go into here, into the pre's, and then it comes out MADI into here. And right now I'm going out MADI coax. And then I have an Ethernet cable, and that goes to my Dante network. And that goes into Logic, which then also gets stemmed out to Pro Tools. And I've integrated this little Surface Pro 7 here, which is great because USB comes out, plugs right into the Digiface Dante, and I'm able to see what's going on here. So I'll just do that. So this is going to be, when I have this all finished, finalized and set up, these will be my drums. I'll be able to see them come up here. And this isn't actually the 12 mic pre. You're actually seeing total mix of what's in here in this device, the Digiface Dante. And right now I'm sending a click and a stereo stem into here for headphones. I've plugged in my headphones right here into the back, and I'm getting a signal. Let's check that out. Let's see. There we go. So we can see we have a stereo feed and the click coming up. So let's go back a little bit. So I'm going to bring up my stereo feed to my main, which is my headphones in this situation. And then I'm also going to bring in my click. And I can hear the click already. Yeah.
Another two little devices that I use in how I move things around the studio really quick before I write some stuff and sketch some things out. So I have an iPad to my left over here, and on the iPad I've set up, I work with Lemur, and on this one interface right here I've also set up OSC, so I can control basically the same functionality over here. So right now I'm just controlling volume. Well, I can do the same thing here, and I can control TotalMix also. And then it also is interactive. So if I move the ARC USB, this is also moving back and forth. So whatever I do here is affected over there. Whatever I do here with the ARC USB is also affected over here in this little section. So that's another piece of functionality with the RME interfaces that I've really, really loved. I've been able to design my own little Lemur interface and include what I needed with their hardware on this little space. So I have a way to manipulate MIDI data, a way to manipulate my click, headphone sends, and then a way to manipulate basically overall settings and whatnot. And then in addition, I have other little things I've created that help me in the studio. Over here, basically have, this is like a little string key switching UAC palette that I've created. I'm just going to put it over here so you can kind of see what's going on with that. And these are all just little devices I've created and implemented that help me just help the creative workflow. So I can just move along and not worry about the technology. Once it's set up, it just all works, and I'm able to just creatively just kind of flow around the room and do what I want. Right now, I've created like a drone, and so I'm just going to kind of manipulate some stuff and create some sounds and work through this little piece. I think I want to create something kind of ominous and see what I got going on here. So let's see. So right now, I'm incorporating things from VE Pro. That's coming from a sampler. I'm playing my synths. Those come into my MADI face. And I'm also going to play my keyboards in a second. So I'm just kind of, in this example, the point of this is just to show you that this is a true hybrid setup. I have computer samplers going. I have outboard gear going and instruments. So I'm going to turn down that sound. Let's see what we got going on. So right now, Pro Tools is in sync with Logic. I'm sending out Logic through the MADI face, going to Pro Tools, and I'm just stemming 32 wide right now. Just making it simple. It's just a basic palette. And I'm going to come over here and so that's just kind of like a little bit of my process. So that's just like an idea. I'll come in, I'll sit down, and I'll think of an idea, and I'll let that idea grow creatively. And I'm just letting the hardware work transparently in the background. I'll sit down at Logic. Typically I'll start with a piano. And then I'll let the ideas grow and evolve from there. And if I want to check it with headphones, I have an easy headphone out from the MadiFace XT, which is, I just run a little headphone extender from the rack, bring it right over here. I got some open ear headphones right here. And this is generally what I'll listen to back on. There we go, just pulled it out really fast. And I'll check it on my headphones. I'll play it over the mains. Or if I'm recording, what I'll do is I'll mute my main speakers, and I'll just quickly come over here, put that down, and I'll still have signal going to the, if I'm recording with an artist, I'll have signal going to the headphones for them. So I can still record in here in my same space and not have to worry about isolation or anything. So I'm able to do a lot of different things in this hybrid situation, and RME allows me to creatively just function, get around efficiently, whether it's virtual with my samples, samplers, plugins, DAW, hardware, which is plugged in direct, and everything's up and ready to play. Or if I bring in an artist and I want to have a live recording situation, whether it's drums, bass, strings. And then now with the Digiface Dante, it's just exploded the opportunity for me to grow outside of this space right here, which is really just a writing room. That's why I call it a workshop. This is where I just put down my ideas, create them, form them, finish them, and send them off to other places. But now, with the Digiface Dante, that expands me outside of this writing room and makes this a control room. And now I can basically take something like the RME 12 mic, set that up in another space here on the property, and record, probably up to 16 players if I wanted to. And I'm really excited about evolving in that direction, just working from home in these crazy, wacky times. Technology has allowed us to expanded us and enhanced us to basically do what I'm doing here at home in your own private spaces, and that's been a great integration that I've experienced with using their interfaces. I just want to give a big shout out to RME. I really appreciate my collaboration with them. They've allowed me to share my thoughts on their gear, how I use it in my creative process. And this stuff, there's tutorials online. Reach out to RME, ask them questions. They have blogs, they have a great public forum, and if you have questions about how to use their gear, some of it might be overwhelming. I'm always happy to share, consult about their technology and how it's made my creative process better. I hope that was enjoyable and awesome for you. This was a quick preview of this organized chaos, was what I like to call it sometimes. Basically my workshop and where I love to create. It's all possible because of how I've created it around the RME technology, being the MadiFace XT, the Digiface Dante, and the Ferrofish A32 Dante. It just works seamlessly in the background while it allows me to implement scenarios for recording live instruments, vocalist, drums, my electronic outboard gear, synths,
and it allows me to integrate my samplers too. So it's really just a space that I love to come create and work, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you for sharing this time with me, and thank you to RME.